On June 30, 1960, a man stood before a king and signed his own death warrant. He didn't use a pen, he used his voice. This is Patrice Lumumba. To his people, he was the first prime minister of a free Congo. To the CIA, he was a Soviet puppet. To the Belgian government, he was a loose cannon who needed to be silenced. But what happened to him wasn't just an assassination. It was a liquidation. A crime so grisly that the killers spent the next 40 years trying to pretend the victim never existed. They didn't just kill the man, they tried to erase his very atoms from the earth. Today, in 2026, the silence has finally broken. A 93-year-old man is standing in a Belgian courtroom, and the ghosts of the Katanga bush are finally coming home to roost. To understand why the world's most powerful intelligence agencies wanted a 35-year-old dead, you have to understand the stakes. The Congo was the jewel of the Belgian Empire packed with rubber, ivory, and more importantly, the uranium used in the Hiroshima bomb. When Lumumba took the podium for Independence Day, he didn't give the thank you speech the Belgians expected. He spoke of humiliating slavery and the wounds that are still too fresh. In Washington, President Eisenhower reportedly sat in stunned silence. Behind closed doors, the machinery of death began to turn. The CIA didn't start with bullets. They sent a scientist, codenamed Joe, from Paris, with a vial of lethal biological toxins. The plan? Poison Lumumba's toothbrush. But the toothbrush plot failed. They needed something more permanent. By December 1960, the trap was set. Lumumba was deposed in a coup, led by his own army chief, Mobutu, a man who would later become one of Africa's most notorious dictators. Lumumba tried to flee, but he was intercepted. The photos from that day are haunting. You see a prime minister, a head of state, being beaten in the back of a truck, while UN peacekeepers literally stand by and watch. They had orders not to intervene. Fearing his supporters might rescue him, the authorities made a chilling decision. They would fly him to Katanga, the one place on Earth where he had the most enemies. On that final flight, the beating was so rhythmic, so violent, that the pilot reportedly yelled at the guards to stop because they were unbalancing the aircraft. January 17, 1961, 10 p.m. Lumumba and two associates are driven into the dark Katanga bush. There is no trial, there is no judge. Only a large tree and a firing squad commanded by a Belgian captain named Julian Gat. One by one, the shots ring out. Lumumba is the last to die. But for the Belgians, killing him wasn't enough. They knew that if he had a grave, it would become a shrine. He had to disappear completely. The next morning, Belgian Police Commissioner Gerard Soet was given a task that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He called it Operation Land. Armed with a hacksaw and two large vats of sulfuric acid, Soet and his team dug up the bodies. This is where the story crosses from political thriller into pure horror. They hacked the corpses into pieces. They dropped the remains into the acid. What the acid couldn't take, the fire did. Years later, Soet would go on television and confess. He said, "We did things an animal wouldn't do." But he kept a secret. He had kept trophies, a finger bone, and two gold-capped teeth. In 2022, after decades of legal pressure, the Belgian government finally returned the only thing left of Patrice Lumumba to his family, a single gold tooth. Seized from the home of Soet's daughter. For 65 years, this was a cold case. But as we sit here in 2026, the fire has been reignited. There is one man left, Etienne Davignon. In 1961, he was a junior diplomat in the Congo. Today, he is 93 years old, a titan of the European establishment. And he is the last of the 11 original suspects still alive. In January of this year, a closed-door hearing was held in Brussels. Lumumba's grandchildren sat in the same room as the man accused of complicity in their grandfather's degrading treatment. The defense says it's too late. They say you can't have a fair trial after 65 years. But the prosecution and the Lumumba family disagree, because war crimes have no expiration date. On March 17, 2026, the court will decide. Will Belgium finally put its own history on trial? Or will the truth remain as dissolved as the man in the Katanga bush? Justice isn't always about a prison cell. Sometimes, it's just about the truth.